Hey, 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 what do you say? Look, welcome, welcome, welcome. First of all, let me do my sound check before I get into anything. So give me 1 second. I'll let you hear it while I'm doing it. Let's see how this is going. Do my sound check before I get into anything. So give me 1 second. See, I can hear myself. I can hear myself. That's a great thing. That's a great thing. All right, so let me push that magic button. Let's go. The one that makes me so excited.
See, baby, looking wild and looking tired and looking for me. Oh, right. Hey, but I said it ain't gonna happen. East West. East West.
Hey, how you doing? How you feeling? Happy Friday, y'all. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, y'all. I'm so happy to be here. As usual, that song makes me very, very excited. That opening. My son did that for me. You hear me? You heard. And then that's my grandbaby too that's going, Z-Swag, you making beats again? And all of that type of stuff is just I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm just loving that I'm here today able to do another video for you all. Okay. So look, let's be happy about life and rejoice in it. Have it go in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I got a lot of compliments about yesterday about that really quick one that I had to do because I had to get out of here. I had something to do. I had to be there, but I forgot what time. But anyway, I'm gonna try that again because it was successful. All right, so we're gonna get right into it because y'all already know what it is, right? So meanwhile, hit that button, that like button, hit that subscribe button, okay? I need more subscribers to the channel. That would be nice. Spread the word, share the message, because I do think that I am sharing good information. I like it, and I'm trying to put my kids on to something and my grandkids on to something. And then meanwhile, I'm sharing it with the world, and maybe you all can share it too. Even if you know this stuff, pass it on to somebody that don't know. All right. So anyway, that's what I want to see today. Give your girl a like button, okay? Do that for me. And then share for me. Share, 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 share. And then also um, get subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. So anyway, today's topic is the world of stupidity. Where do you fit in? Is the question. Okay? The world of stupidity, where do you fit in is the question. Okay, and I'm not even trying to throw no shots or anything like that. But today as I move around, people are just losing their mind, losing their minds. I hear so many accidents are happening. So they crazy out in the road, they crazy in stores, they crazy at work, like just a lot of different things. And I know that the world is stressed out. I know that we're stressed out, pushed to the limit, but we got to regain ourselves and put our own selves in order. We don't need them to put us in order, right? We don't need them to put us into order. I still haven't gotten my sound right for what I wanted to say. You know how they always trying to control us, and that's all that they want to do, control us. And when they want to control us, they don't want to control us for the good of the world. They want to control us for their own personal benefit. So yesterday we talked about school, and there's a part two to that, right? So that was homeless man, that got it all started out there in Germany. Some of the teachers came back here to teach, and some of the teachers from America went over to Germany. And we're going to go into part two of it, is when the Rockefellers joined into it and started to industrialize education and said, let's make these students workers. So that's a whole nother part two of that episode. But we're not coming to part two. We're gonna go move. Look, we're moving around. So we have had some really, really good information come through this channel, and I probably really need to do a recap of all the stuff that we talked about here, because there's so much information to retain, and even just keep, like, it's reasons behind everything. And sometimes we don't even look at the reasoning or anything. We just off doing, 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 doing. And even sometimes you might think you know the reason or whatever, we're off. I'm going to say that. This world is off. And when I say off, I'm just not talking about crazy off, like, oh, you off the chain or nothing. But we are really off on making clear decisions too. And we let the government and, what the things happen, businesses do what they do to us because we allow it to happen. So anyway, let's get into this video. The world of stupidity, where do you fit in, is the question. Okay. And I know I'm not the smartest person in the room, and I get caught up sometimes. That's why it's really good to slow down, try to figure out what you're doing, right? You can plan your day out and do different things, because as you move along in the day, stuff be happening, right? And then you deal with things on the spot. But if you actually plan your day out, right, the best that you can, and when things pop up, you can honestly say, I will deal with that later because I didn't even have that in my plan today, right? But you'll deal with it. You'll deal with it because it's like, oh, it's here. Let me deal with it. Did you deal with it the right way? Did you deal with it emotionally? How did you deal with this? Did you even have to deal with it at that particular moment? So that's why I'm saying, where do you fit in is the question. How do you move? You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get my mind right. And every time I'm trying to get my mind right, there's always something coming at me to try to get me discombobulated and have me out here acting like a fool and stupid, doing what they need us to do. That's why they're creating robots, okay? So anyway, let's get into it. Let me hit my disclosures and stuff like that. Hit that like button for me. All right, hit that subscribe button and hit that share button if you appreciate what I'm doing. All right. Um disclosures. Hold on. Let me remove this. Hold on, cancel that. Oh yeah. I told you I do everything myself, so that's good. And when I'm still getting the hang of it, not the fastest. All right, hold on. Hit my disclosures. Oh fuck, I messed up. I did that last time. I did that last time. Let me go back. Yeah, I did that. I did that last time. Hold on. I did that last time. Yep. It's important that I do this though, because they be trying to copyright you for stuff. They, you have to put these disclosures and do different things and stuff like that. So I am learning. Okay, hold on. So let's do that again. Hold on. That one didn't come through. Mhm. Let's do it. What's this? What's this? Nope, nope, nope. Go back.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Okay. Wonderful. That's what I wanted to do. All right. See, that saved me. That honestly has saved me by doing that. And I also placed it into my description box. If anybody, ever decided they want to try to do this, that's fine. Do your disclaimers, put it I got one in my description box. I got one up here on my screen. I ran a video really quickly. So I haven't been getting any copyrights lately. So very good for me. All right, now let's get into this podcast. And I will now set my timer. Let's go.
Laugh in my face. Oh, I'm a failure because I haven't got a brain.
Well, what would you do with a brain if you had one?
Do? Why, if I had a brain, I could while away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain. And my head I'd be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching if I only had a brain. I'd unravel every riddle for any individual in trouble or in pain.
With the thoughts you'd be thinking you could be another Lincoln if you only had a brain.
Oh, I could tell you why the ocean's near the shore. I could think of things I never thought before. And then I'd sit and think some more. I would not be just a nuffin', my head all full of stuffin', my heart all full of pain. I would dance and be merry, life would be a ding-a-dairy if I only had a brain.
Wonderful. Why, if our scarecrow back in Kansas could do that, the crows would be scared to pieces.
They would? Where's Kansas?
That's where I live. And I want to get back there so badly, I'm going all the way to Emerald City to get the Wizard of Oz.
Laugh in my face. Oh, I'm a failure because I haven't.
That was fun. Okay. That was fun to me. That was that was fun to me. If I only had a brain. If we only had a brain. If we would only use our brains, we would be all right. They don't want us to use our brains. Right? When we watched the video podcast from yesterday about when school starts, okay. Yeah, when school starts and when school started and we wanted to talk about the meaning of school. So, like, they don't want us to use our brain. They train us how to use our brain, okay? And it's working. And then, when you get into the job and you get your rules and then you start your workplace work, and you got to do this and follow the rules and how the job thing go, like that's part of the brainwashing. How you should go about your life. Like you should do this, go to school, get a good education, um, become a good worker, buy into society, to build up the economy. Screw your credit all around. We'll talk about that credit game too. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. So I hope we all understand that we have been conditioned. And I hope we all can agree that we have been conditioned and that they are trying to condition us. Okay, all right, all of us, not just some of us, not just black and brown. They're trying to condition all of us, and they start right from childhood. We don't even know if the pills that they give us when we get pregnant uh, maternity paternity pills, is they really good for our kids? Like, do they start right away? And then they already said that Similac milk and stuff is bad for you. Then the immunizations that you got to give your child, then going to school, like they already just screwing us up from day one before contraception. All right, so let's get into it. The video.
Imagine waking up one morning to find that almost everyone around you is acting irrationally, not just eccentric, but truly disconnected from logic, reason, or even basic self-awareness. Now imagine realizing this wasn't just a dream, it's your daily reality. Ponder this. What if you're not the one who's insane? What if you're the only one still sane in a world gone mad? Today we'll delve into the uncomfortable and fascinating truth behind mass psychosis. How entire societies can fall into a hypnotic trance of stupidity, illusion, and blind obedience. You'll learn why it happens, how to recognize when it's happening, and more importantly, how to escape its grip. And stay with us until the end, because the last insight is not only the most powerful, it may very well change the way you see everything, including yourself. If you find these kinds of revelations powerful and necessary, help spread this light. Subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, comment your thoughts and insights, and share it with those who you feel are ready to wake up. What you'll discover today has the power to shift not just your thinking, but your entire reality. Let us begin this journey of illumination. Let's define a brutal truth. Human beings are not always rational. Despite our access to science, history, philosophy, and countless tools for critical thinking, we often behave like a flock of sheep chasing imaginary wolves. Throughout history, we've seen empires collapse not from external enemies, but from collective delusions that eroded them from within. This is not new. In the 17th century, philosopher René Descartes warned that the senses could deceive us, but he had no idea how much society as a whole could deceive itself. Today, psychologists refer to this as mass formation psychosis, a phenomenon where large groups of people lose touch with reality, becoming absorbed by false narratives, emotional hysteria, or manipulative ideologies. But what triggers this collapse of reason? The brilliant psychiatrist Carl Jung described how the psyche, when cut off from meaning, purpose, or spiritual anchoring, becomes vulnerable to mass suggestion. In his view, when individuals are not grounded in their own identity, they seek it in the herd. And the herd, unfortunately, is often driven by fear, propaganda, and the need to belong, even at the cost of truth. Think about the last few years. Social media, news cycles, cultural wars. We've witnessed people repeating slogans they don't understand, supporting movements they've never researched, and attacking others simply for questioning the mainstream. Is this intelligence? Is this progress? Or is this a society in a state of mental and spiritual collapse? The French philosopher Gustave Le Bon, in his classic book The Crowd, explained that individuals in a group lose their sense of responsibility and critical thinking. Instead of acting like rational adults, they become emotionally charged children, easy to manipulate, quick to rage, and eager to conform. And here lies the danger. The more disconnected people become from critical thought, the easier it is to control them. Mass psychosis is not just a clinical term, it's a lived experience. It happens when people stop thinking for themselves and start outsourcing their perception of reality to authority figures, mass media, or popular trends. Ask yourself, how many of
Okay, let me just interrupt that right quick. You see, and that's what we're doing too. Like, when you look into the government and they like, when I see what's happening in the world and I read the comments, like it's so many people that just agree, like nobody's using their own thoughts or anything. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's two sided. It's like either it's this way or it's that way. And that in between, like what do you think and stuff like that, people not doing a lot of that. They're going with this or that. And I mean, but it's so much deeper than that. But yeah, mass psychosis. I'm saying it wrong, is deep. And I think we need to just keep learning about it too. But this is what we're seeing. People out there driving fast, cutting in front of people, cutting in front of tractor trailers, like just doing dumb things. Things are blowing up, and workplaces getting dangerous. And you'll go and you'll see something dangerous, and you still just do it. Just say, um, like in a factory, like how they blowing up and stuff. Like this machine don't sound right, and like you go report it to a supervisor. The supervisor ain't got too much sense. Most supervisors that you have been handpicked, right? They're not gonna get a supervisor or no type of leader that want to lead it his own way. You have to be able to conform to the way that they want to teach you how to be the best SS for that company, and then you have to pass it on to the other people. You can't come and work at no company and think you're gonna do what you want to do, like go against the rules or whatever. Say, I don't really think this cool for the people. Like, I know, you might find a couple of supervisors that be cool and say, you know what, I ain't gonna be that hard on you. I'm gonna let you slide, but don't be too impressed with it, okay? Because push come to shove, if he got to put his neck, his or her foot on your neck, it will happen before they lose their job, okay? So anyway, let's get back to the video.
The opinions you hear every day are truly someone's own. How many are just echoes of what they've been told to believe? This phenomenon intensifies when fear is introduced. Fear is the fuel of collective madness, and those in power, knowingly or not, have often used it to drive the herd in whatever direction suits them. From religious crusades to political regimes, from
Look, I just said that, and let me make this clear too. So, I'm watching this video together with you all. So I'm like, because my days have gotten busier, which I always had busy days, but just you know, life is lifing. So anyway, um, I just said that. I just said that he got to move the herd. You hear me? I just said that. So we're watching this together, and I just said that. Damn, I'm on point. I'm on point. You hear me?
economic panics to health scares, mass hysteria has repeatedly been manufactured and weaponized throughout history. But the most insidious part of all this? When you're surrounded by people who've surrendered to mass psychosis, they don't think they're crazy. They think you are. This reversal is chilling. Suddenly, questioning becomes dangerous. Curiosity
You know what? I'm sorry to keep interrupting this, but that's what I'm gonna do because this is really good. That's what they do in school. So they start this off really early. So like kindergarten, you can't. And their minds are so full of curiosity when they're young. My kids always say, why this, why that? And they say, don't ask why. You ever heard that? Don't ask why. Just do as you're told and all this type of stuff. And that's what school is. They don't have time for no person, no kid to be a thinker, doing something different. That child is labeled when you can't go in that group of kids, which they got these milestones, PTA meetings, and all this type of stuff and guidelines they do. And if your kid can't sit there and go A, B, C, D, E, F, G with all the rest of the kids, and this learning system is the same learning system year after year after century, the curriculum doesn't really change much, okay? Because the goal is always the same. So there's no need to go changing the curriculum. It works. You know what I'm saying? It really works. So why change it? So that's what when our kids go to school, that's what I'm trying to like say, share this video because our young parents have to learn. Because everybody like education is very important, right? Is they even teaching your kids the right way? So when you go to school to the PTA meeting and stuff and say, well, she's having a hard time sitting down learning. I mean, maybe she's old, but she might be really okay. She's just not conforming the way that you need her to conform with everybody. You know what I'm saying? So that's what this video is saying. And it starts so young. And then it does it all the way into the workplace. And like I got a story about that, but I can't even tell you the story unless we have some extra time. Because I was never good at conforming. I never was. You hear me? I never was. And I'm still not. But, I I try to act accordingly. But regardless, knowledge is power. What you got in your head, you know, knowing is the key. But when you don't know, you fucked up. Oh,
Curiosity becomes heresy. Silence becomes safer than truth. And in this climate, true intelligence and true sanity becomes isolated. So what can we do? The first step is awareness. As Jung wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In other words, if we don't recognize the forces acting on our minds, we will never escape them. Mass psychosis feeds on passivity, on silence, on blind conformity. It thrives when people stop asking why. Have you noticed how difficult it is to have deep, rational conversations in today's world? Why do some people mock questions rather than answer them? Why is dissent so often labeled as hate? Why do those who speak inconvenient truths face more resistance than those who peddle comforting lies? Could it be that we are not dealing with ignorance, but with a willful escape from reality? This escape is seductive. It promises belonging, safety, and identity. But at what cost? As we move forward, we'll uncover the psychological mechanisms behind this mass delusion and how certain thinkers predicted this descent decades ago. We'll also explore how you can protect your own mind from being absorbed by this collective hypnosis. But most importantly, we'll expose the final key, the powerful tool that very few dare to use, the one that frees you completely. And that's coming later in this video. So until then, reflect on this. Are your thoughts really your own? Or are they the thoughts of the crowd echoing inside your head? Take a moment to sit with that question. Let's go deeper. Think back to a time when you disagreed with the majority, not out of stubbornness, but because something inside you whispered, this doesn't feel right. Perhaps it was during a debate or while watching the news.
Lowe's knows when you start grilling, the guest list starts growing. That's why we help you get everything you need and more.
Mind if I...
Or maybe in a classroom when everyone applauded a concept you couldn't accept. You stayed quiet. Or maybe you spoke up and paid the price. This moment, though subtle, was a fracture, a glimpse into the mechanism that governs social conformity and silences inner truth. The human brain is not only designed for survival, but for belonging. Our
hey, let me say this. Like when you be in public places or formal meetings or whatever, and they say, let's stand up. And in the school too, and they say, we want to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, they do that every day at the schoolhouse. And say, I pledge allegiance to the flag and all this stuff of the United States of America. My mama never did. My mama never did it. I stand up, right? I stand up because I'm respectful, but I don't say it. I don't say it. And I don't put my hand on my heart and do all that. I just stand up out of respect. You know what I'm saying? I don't get up to that. What does that really mean? You just get ready. This is the beginning of this conversation, like for meetings with the bullshit. So now you need me to do all of this. What that got to do with what we're about to have a discussion with? And when it do come to that, even like when we go to court, you swear, you hold your right hand up. I don't even know if they got you put it on the Bible or you put it on your hand, but I think you just put it on your chest and say, and the judge asks, you hear me ask you, do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth by the power invested in God or something like that? And you're like, I swear to tell the truth. What the heck is that? Do you swear to do the right thing? Do you swear to be like a human decency and be fair and justice? And just? Do you promise to do that? Why you got me up here talking about, yeah, I promise, I swear to God and all this type of stuff. I'm gonna tell the truth, nothing but the truth. Any lies you tell in here, you can be subject to perjury and all this type. What's your punishment? What's your punishment? Can you do the same thing? Can we all like before we get this going, y'all ain't gonna put me up here like that. Y'all gonna do the same thing too? And promise to carry this case out with, human decency and what's right and fair and all this type of stuff. Can you do that? Can we promise to do that? Can you promise that? So anyway, yeah, they got us screwed up.
Ancestors needed the tribe. Exclusion meant death. That primal programming still exists in us today. But now, instead of fearing lions in the savannah, we fear being the odd one out. We fear ridicule, isolation, judgment, and mass psychosis takes full advantage of this primal fear. Psychologist Solomon Asch conducted a famous experiment in the 1950s. He showed participants a series of lines and asked them to identify which ones matched in length. The correct answer was obvious. But when actors in the room purposely gave the wrong answer, the real participants, under pressure, also gave the wrong answer, just to conform. The need to fit in overpowered the evidence of their own eyes. Let that sink in. This is how mass psychosis begins, not with monsters and dictators, but with ordinary people afraid to stand alone. Now amplify that across millions of individuals. Multiply that fear by the reach of social media, the power of manipulated news, and the speed of modern communication. You now have a psychological virus, an epidemic of obedience, infecting minds at scale. But there's more. When people abandon their own thinking, they don't just become neutral, they often become aggressive. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned us, madness is rare in individuals, but in groups, parties, nations, and ages, it is the rule. A society that suppresses truth doesn't become peaceful. It becomes hostile to truth-tellers. This is why you'll notice a strange phenomenon. When someone calmly presents evidence, logic, or reason, the crowd reacts with rage, mockery, or censorship. Not because the information is wrong, but because it threatens the false safety of their illusion. It's not stupidity in the intellectual sense. Many people caught in mass delusion have degrees, titles, status, but intelligence without awareness is like a ship without a compass. You can be brilliant and still deeply lost. And here we reach the painful irony. We are surrounded not just by ignorance, but by educated confusion. Information is everywhere, but wisdom is scarce. People have facts, but lack clarity. They know what to think, but not how to think. They mistake consensus for truth and compliance for virtue. This is not entirely their fault. Modern society is designed to distract. Schools teach memorization, not critical thinking. Media sells emotion, not accuracy. Social media rewards outrage, not wisdom. We are trained to react, not to reflect. So what's the antidote? It begins with reclaiming your mind. You must build an inner firewall, one that filters the noise, questions assumptions, and protects your inner clarity from being hijacked by the collective. Begin by asking yourself uncomfortable questions. Why do I believe what I believe? Who benefits from me believing this? What if I'm wrong? Or what if everyone else is? And here's another. When was the last time I changed my mind because of new evidence, not social pressure? That question alone can shatter illusions. Carl Jung believed that
You know what? And if you can't do that for yourself, at least start teaching your kids that. You know, start, and that will help them process their thoughts, right? Because if you try to teach your kid, that's what and I'm gonna go over this with my grandbaby, because I always tell her it's okay to be different. It is definitely okay to be different, and you don't have to think that you're wrong. It could be, and I've seen it so many times. It could be like 30 people, and all 29 of them think it's that, but you got this one thought, but you scared, or you don't want to say nothing because everybody else said, and then have a all of y'all are wrong, like that. Even they might ask questions in classrooms and stuff, and you get that type of stuff. So never be afraid to be different. So if you can't gather this message and do it for yourself, please, please share it with your children. Please share it with anybody. It is okay to be different, and help them I'm not gonna rewind it, but I will go over these. I'm gonna write these questions down myself. Like, what is it for me to gain if I was to think like this, or what is it for me not to gain? And and help them finesse their way through making a decision on whether this is something that is right, wrong, is something I should do, not do. Is this in my best interest? Because I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. If it's not in your best interest, do not do it. Okay? It could even be like for your parents. Like, is this in my parents' best interest? In my best interest. If it's in the best interest of somebody else, it should be in the best interest of you too. You should never put yourself, like, honestly, in the line of fire. You can for protection and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a whole nother thing, but making decisions, protection, and all of that type of stuff, all of those are different entities. So, but just making basic decisions, what is them to gain from this? Honestly, what is it for them to gain from me? So, anyway, let's keep going.
One of the most dangerous things in life is to follow the crowd while believing you are thinking for yourself. He urged us to confront the shadow, the unconscious parts of ourselves we deny. And in today's world, the collective shadow is growing darker. Projection, blame, hysteria, all signs of a society in psychological distress. But the key is this: you are not powerless. You are not doomed to drown in this sea of madness. In fact, your awareness is the very lifeboat others are seeking, even if they don't know it yet. As you awaken from the mass illusion, you'll notice things others miss. The subtle manipulation in headlines, the emotionally loaded language designed to provoke, not inform, the normalization of double standards, the silence around inconvenient truths, and you'll also notice something else: the deep loneliness that comes with seeing clearly in a blind world. This loneliness is not a curse. It's a rite of passage. Every awakened thinker has walked this path, from Socrates to
Look, and like I said, I'm watching this with y'all. Look at this. Look at the picture they showing with the young, where he got on the thing like he the judge though. This is a conflicting picture to me. When I look at this picture, I don't know what I'm seeing here. It's a lot of different scenarios going on here. I think they're trying to play with with the mind. He got on this black like he is the judge, but why is he sitting right there in the middle? They would never put a judge in the middle of a whole bunch of people like that. The judge's back is almost up against the wall, so he's not a judge. So they threw this black on to just diffuse us and say, "Oh, he's a judge," but he's not a judge. To me, he's sitting around with all these people looking at him and stuff. Is he on the chopping block? Right? Look at that facial expressions and stuff. Like, um, you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, what the Lord vested in you, or whatever the stuff is. Do you swear, young man, to tell the truth? Do you know anything that you say could be held against you in the court of law, and you could be faced with this and that? I think he get ready to he's up there for prosecution. That's what I'm thinking. They're playing a game. But anyway, let's keep going.
Galileo, from Jung to Orwell, those who see beyond the illusion often walk alone. But here's the secret.
As a therapist myself, I know how important it is to be able to have someone that you can talk to about your problems, to bounce ideas off of, process your traumas and your stressors, especially when life is getting out of hand. And although everyone should have a therapist like that they can talk to, sometimes it's difficult to find the right person who's the
They are never truly alone, because in every era there are others.
Oh, and let me say this right quick. Let that commercial play a little bit. They pushing this psychiatry stuff a whole lot. A lot of it's just AI. They're not even real people and stuff. And these people cannot help you for real. You better learn how to help yourself. Most people that psychiatrists already been through trauma themselves. So they think because they've been through the trauma and stuff like that that they can help some other people. Some of them are still traumatized and trying to help other people, and they ain't even straight yet. You know what I'm saying? But you can't even trust this new therapy, psychiatrist type of stuff because I really think it's AI. It's not even real people that you're talking to and stuff. So just another something that they playing with your head, society. Yes. You think you need somebody to talk to? Well, we got the right person for you to talk to help you gather your thoughts and stuff and make it in this world today. Give us a call, 1 800 A Good Therapist. We're here to help you. Yes, we are. Help yourself.
Quiet, questioning, watching, waiting for the moment to speak, to resist, to rebuild. That moment is now, because the cost of staying silent is growing. The longer mass psychosis is allowed to spread, the more reality is distorted, and the harder it becomes to reclaim sanity. Children grow up without critical thinking. Truth becomes relative, and society becomes a stage play where no one remembers the script, only the roles they've been assigned. So ask yourself, am I living by truth or by fear? The next part of this video will reveal the psychological stages of mass psychosis, how it starts, how it evolves, and how it ends. We'll also explore the powerful, often suppressed techniques that can free you, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, from this collective trap. Stay with us, because the final key, the one coming soon, is not just an idea, it's a revolution. To understand mass psychosis, we must first understand the individual psyche, because a society is nothing more than a collection of minds reacting to fear, desire, and meaning. When a culture begins to unravel, when people lose trust in leaders, institutions, or even in each other, they become vulnerable. Anxiety rises, certainty fades. The old stories no longer make sense, and nothing has come to replace them. This is the fertile ground in which mass psychosis begins to grow. It starts with disorientation, a vague sense that something is wrong, but no clarity about what it is. The world feels chaotic. People feel helpless. In this fog, the mind begins to crave order, even if it comes at the cost of truth. The next stage is simplification. A narrative appears, often from the media, the state, or charismatic influences. It offers a clear villain, a clear solution, and a strong emotional charge. It tells you who to blame, what to fear, and what to do. Complexity is erased. Nuance disappears. Everything becomes black or white, good or evil, us versus them. At this point, many people surrender their critical thinking, not out of stupidity, but out of exhaustion. To question everything is tiring. To follow the herd feels safe. Then comes the stage of conformity. The new belief system spreads, not because everyone believes it, but because everyone thinks everyone else believes it. And so, out of fear, they stay silent, and silence becomes complicity. This is what psychologists call pluralistic ignorance. The majority may secretly disagree with the dominant narrative, but since no one dares speak up, it appears as if everyone agrees. Dissent disappears, not because it's gone, but because it's hidden. The fourth stage is aggression. Once the new reality is accepted, those who still resist it are seen as threats. The crowd begins to enforce the new norms, not just socially, but emotionally and physically. Censorship increases. Debate dies. The questioner becomes the enemy. This is why every totalitarian regime in history, no matter how irrational, had millions of supporters who believed they were fighting for truth and justice. The people weren't evil. They were trapped in a system that rewarded obedience and punished thought. But here's where it gets interesting. Mass psychosis doesn't last forever. Eventually, the weight of reality breaks through. Lies collapse under their own contradictions. People begin to feel the tension between what they are told and what they experience. The illusion cracks. That's when the fifth and final stage begins. Awakening. At first, it's subtle. A quiet voice inside begins to ask, is this really true? And as more people begin to question, the collective spell starts to break. This awakening can be slow or sudden, and it is often painful. Why painful? Because waking up means realizing that much of what you believed, trusted, or even defended was false. It means seeing how you were manipulated. It means admitting how easily the mind can be hijacked. This cognitive dissonance, the gap between illusion and truth, can shake people to their core. And yet, it is only through this shaking that clarity is born. The Austrian psychoanalyst Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, wrote in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that those who survived were not necessarily the strongest, but those who maintained a sense of inner purpose. They had meaning. something real within that the external madness could not destroy. And that's the key to escaping mass psychosis. You must anchor your mind to something deeper than public opinion. That might be a personal philosophy, a spiritual discipline, a dedication to truth even when it hurts. It must be something so rooted in your core that no slogan, trend, or narrative can override it. But this requires courage, because to see clearly in a world gone blind is not a comfortable experience. It is at times heartbreaking. You may lose friends, you may be ridiculed, you may feel alone. But ask yourself, would you rather be comforted by lies or awakened by truth? There's a reason many ancient traditions spoke of illumination or enlightenment, not as blissful, but as disruptive. The light doesn't always feel good, especially when it reveals the shadows you didn't want to see. But once you see, you can't unsee, and that's the beginning of true freedom. Now let's turn to practical steps. How do you stay mentally sovereign in a time of mass hypnosis? The first step is silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of inner observation. Learn to watch your thoughts. Where did they come from? Are they grounded in evidence? Do they serve truth or comfort? This practice, rooted in Stoicism and Buddhism alike, is the gateway to psychological autonomy. Second, reduce emotional reactivity. Mass psychosis thrives on triggered minds. The more reactive you are, the easier you are to manipulate. Begin to question your immediate reactions. Why did that comment anger me? Why did that post make me afraid? Emotional discipline is not suppression, it's sovereignty. Third, reconnect with meaning. Whether through philosophy, spirituality, art, or nature, find what transcends the chaos. As Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Meaning is the antidote to manipulation. Fourth, build community, not of echo chambers, but of thinkers. People who value truth more than comfort. People who are willing to listen, to question, and to grow. One awakened mind is powerful, but many awakened minds, connected by truth, can change the course of history. Finally, prepare yourself for the last revelation, the one we promised in the beginning. Because the greatest escape from mass psychosis does not lie in resisting the crowd, but in transcending the need for a crowd altogether. And that we will explore in the final part. There is a moment in every seeker's life when the noise of the world fades and a new silence arises. It is not the silence of ignorance or avoidance, but the silence of realization, a clarity so piercing that, for a brief moment, everything makes sense. You see through the illusion. You recognize the madness. And most importantly, you recognize yourself. This is the final escape from mass psychosis, to transcend the need for approval, applause, and belonging. Because the deepest root of mass delusion is not fear of truth. It is fear of being alone with truth. When people fear isolation more than they fear falsehood, they choose lies. But when you learn to stand in your own presence, when your sense of self is no longer tied to the shifting winds of social consensus, you become free. True freedom is not rebellion. It's not simply rejecting the herd. It is the profound capacity to walk alone in clarity, without hatred, without despair, simply because truth has become your home. This is what mystics, sages, and philosophers across the ages have pointed toward. Not escape from the world, but awakening within it. Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, wrote, "The crowd is untruth." He wasn't advocating isolation. He was showing that truth begins in the individual, in the soul that dares to know itself without mirrors. When your identity depends on reflection, you are at the mercy of distortion. But when it is rooted in direct awareness, it becomes immovable. And this is what terrifies those who dwell in mass psychosis. You cannot control a person who no longer fears rejection.
The future of your business is here. With Wix, you get advanced AI capabilities.
You cannot silence a mind that has found its voice. Let's go deeper. Every system of mass control, whether political, ideological, or psychological, operates on one simple principle: divide the self. Disconnect the person from their inner compass. Once they doubt themselves, they become susceptible to outside direction. But here's the secret: your inner compass was never broken.
Hold on. That was good. That was good. If you can't do it for yourself, teach it to your children, teach it to your niece, your cousin, grandkid, or whatever. That was deep. That was good.
It was buried, buried under shame, guilt, fear, ridicule, noise, and yet it remains. It always has. To escape mass psychosis, then, is not to become something new. It is to remember what you are. This is why awakening is so painful. It is not a discovery. It is a recovery, a return. And return often requires grieving for the years lost in illusion, the connections built on falsehood, the truths we denied to survive. But grief is not the end. It is the doorway to strength. Because once you remember, truly remember, who you are beneath the programming, beneath the persona, a profound shift happens. You stop reacting. You start observing. You stop chasing approval. You start seeking alignment. You stop fearing others' madness. You start mastering your own mind. And from this space, you begin to radiate a new kind of energy, one that cannot be explained by credentials, social status, or charisma. It is the energy of coherence, of integrity, of truth embodied. Others will feel it. Some will be drawn to it. Others will be threatened by it, but it doesn't matter. Because your peace no longer depends on their perception, this is the ultimate escape. Not fleeing from the world, but no longer needing it to validate you. And it is from this place, not from rage, not from resistance, but from clarity, that real transformation begins. You become the antidote to mass psychosis, not by preaching, not by arguing, but by living as proof that another way is possible. When others see that you are not afraid to question, not afraid to be wrong, not afraid to stand apart, they begin to remember something in themselves, something ancient, something sacred. This is how awakening spreads, not by force, but by resonance. And this is what mass psychosis fears most, the awakened individual. Because one individual, truly awake, deeply rooted, immune to fear, has more power than 10,000 confused minds. So if you've come this far, you are not like the rest. You are part of a quiet rebellion, a rebellion of clarity, compassion, and consciousness. A rebellion that cannot be televised, cannot be weaponized, and cannot be controlled. It begins with questions, it deepens with truth, and it ends not with conquest, but with liberation. The liberation of your mind, the liberation of your soul, the liberation of your life. So now ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to live in? One ruled by noise, hysteria, and blind obedience, or one where individuals are awake, courageous, and sovereign? It starts with you. Speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. Stand your ground, even if you stand alone, because the world doesn't need more clever followers. It needs conscious leaders. And you, if you choose, can be one of them. This is the way out, not through panic, but through presence, not through rage, but through remembrance, and not through escape, but through evolution. Let the madness of the world rage on if it must. You have found something deeper. You have found yourself, and in doing so, you have already begun the revolution. Thanks for looking.
That was great. That was great. That was great. Um, Look, share that with your kids. Okay? Share it with your kids, share it with anybody. Um, if you can't use it, share it with somebody else. We talked about this so much. We talk about it so much. I don't have my sound, but this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to control us. And just look at the people moving around just like robotic doing what they say. They start very young. And we need to teach our kids. There's the sound. That's not it. That went good. That went good. That went good. So anyway, look, let's teach individuality. That's what we're doing. Individuality. Teach it to your kids, okay? Um, Teach it to yourself. And I got this. So let's see. I'm just breaking all the rules today. Let's see if you can hear that.
Same old song?
Because nobody can be you but you. Teach your kids that. You don't got to be nobody but you. I just got a little one. Nobody can be you but you. You better look out. You better look out. You know what? And I played it on here. Then I got this on another telephone. If I'm gonna get in trouble, me playing it on that telephone or me playing it right here on this particular screen ain't gonna make no difference. So I don't even know why I did it. You know what I'm saying? If they out to get you, they gonna get you some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna try to get you however they can get you. So how I did that, whether I played it right there or played it on the screen, because I might close it out with that. Anyway, I want to read a couple of comments. We are past our time, but it's okay because it's Friday and I got the time today, so I really don't have to rush it. I just was trying to do it like that because I did it yesterday. But you know what? That's out the door. We're doing what we're doing. So I want to read a couple of comments. This is the first time I did that from that video. That was a really, really good video. I like all the videos that I play, honestly. And like I said, we need a recap because all this is good information. And I know, I hope somebody remembers something. Like I need to take notes because I can't even. Like sometimes I just heard it, like repeat what you just heard and stuff like that. I need to take some notes, come back. But let me just read some of the comments from this particular video. I thought it was interesting. Um, okay, the problem is that the people who need to be, all right, the problem is that the people who need to hear this video would never watch this video. These are comments, right, under the video. Never underestimate never underestimate the power of idiots in a large group. I think that's really something else. Never underestimate the power of idiots in a large group. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. Okay. It's so lonely in this world. Excuse me. So lonely in this world full of stupid people. That's good. 2020 really showed the stupidity of lots of people. Okay, I cannot believe my closest friends, family, and workmates fell immediately under the spell of conformity. I thought they were critical thinkers like me, disinclined towards tolerate. I can't even say that word, but they chugged down the Kool Aid. This makes me feel terribly alone. Stupidity is different from ignorance. Ignorance cures with knowledge. Stupidity is incurable. You cannot reason with stupidity. You cannot reason with stupidity. And like sometimes I think when people arguing and we just get caught in our emotions, we constantly trying to push our point over to them, and it's like so the disagreement, and you're arguing or whatever, and you're trying to do what you do, but you can never reason with stupidity, and you should just let it go. And you can't push your thoughts or make somebody know or understand something that you feel. Yeah, so I'm with that one. People care more about social acceptance than reality. That's cool. I'm only 38 and I already think how insane, dumb, brainwashed the world has become since I was younger. Yes, and this is gonna get even worse. They want to put chips in you. I seen a commercial that when the man ready to go to sleep and he put this thing on his head, and it can like tell his mind kind of what to do while he's sleeping and stuff. Complete brainwashing. Do not do that. I'm already dead wrong myself because I listen. I got this little earpiece in my ear. When I go to bed at night, I listen to videos. So that's not good neither. I sleep with a phone in the bed or the earbud in my ear. How bad is that? That's not good. Um, I need to decompose myself. All right, common sense have become the rarest resource in society. That is so true. Common sense has become the rarest resource in society. Life is hard and even harder when you're stupid. Okay, that's good. Life is hard and life is harder when you're stupid. They got John Wayne under that. So I like that one. Um, every day I wake up, I wonder what is wrong with people. Why can't they think for themselves? It's lonely out here. I hear a lot of people saying it's lonely out here. It's lonely out here. I'm okay with being called a nut job, conspiracy theorist, because I know the truth. Okay, somebody's calling that person. This is Liz Bennett. They calling her a nut job and a conspiracy theorist. But she says she know the truth. Excuse me. She know the truth. Okay. Real eyes. I like that. Real eyes, right? Real, Real, eyes, EYES, real eyes. Like your eyes on your face, real eyes, real lies. Like real lies, real lies. So do you get that? Real eyes, realize, real lies. LIES. That's good. Real eyes, realize, real lies. That's very good. That was from Daryl. All right. I kept my circle small for years and preferred the company of my animals over most people. When I was young, a wise, sharp man told me that the majority just follow blindly without questioning. He predicts so many things that ended up being true. When the whole you couldn't even say that CV situation started, he instantly knew something was off and refused to comply with the nonsense. And once again, he was right. He always is. And you know what? And I was with that too. You know what I'm saying? When they had to, when they took that black lady, I think it was a nurse or whatever, and she said, "I'm gonna be first to get my shot," and she got it on first on the TV, and they was really, really trying to encourage black people to get the thing. That's what they call it, the thing. You couldn't even, the YouTubers could not say the word. If you said the word or you talked about it, you will get, um, it was like demonetized. You get shadow banned. Like people could not even talk about it. So I knew something was wrong if you couldn't say it. So some people were saying the thing, CV, all kinds of stuff. So when I'm saying that, that's what I'm talking about, the CV, right? So yeah, that was something else. And then they was really pushing for black folks to get it. And when they care about us getting something, unless it ain't good for us. Um, this person said, I never got jabbed and I openly fought versus it at my job at great risk to my career. My open and hostile opposition to it scared the crap out of executives at my company because no one else objected. The back they backed down because of the strength of my anger over it. They left him alone. I get it. So like you stood 10 toes down, like they would say, and they left you alone. And yeah, I get that. I get it completely. The research was so like it was no research. Yeah. Um, the video is about this video is about 4 years too late. We just lived through it starting in January of 2020 for 3 years. I was told by the sheriff in Oregon out of Columbia, we are going to start ticketing and arresting people for being in the woods. This is insane. So that's this is beyond insane. It's a bid for total control. I'm gonna read about five more. Well, two more. I think that's it. No, I'm read about a couple more, then I'm gonna move on. During a crisis, people stop using critical thinking skills and react with emotions. This is how an evil government controls you. I believe that. hmm Um, let's see. About 10 years ago, I realized that I had lost the need to prove myself or anything about myself to anyone anymore. Okay, good for you. Who is that? This is Richard. You got Richard. You did that. Okay, he wrote that 13 days ago. Okay, a solution to every problem is remembering who you are. I like that. A solution to every problem is remembering who you are. Okay, I like that. A solution to every problem is remembering who you are. And that's something else that you can write for your kids and grandkids, nieces, and stuff you can use for yourself. But if any of this information you don't want to use for yourself, please share it with others so that they can use it. So, in order to try to navigate through life and figure out some problems for yourself, that is very good. A solution to every problem is remembering who you are first. And who you are will help determine how and how you should go about something. Is because they say, what would you do if this happened and this and that? And like, and that questions, they ask you that type of stuff at a job to try to figure out, will you do you know, what they want you to do, conformity, like they're trying to see how you think. Like, what would you do if you seen one of your coworkers stealing? What would you do? They want to hear you say, "Yeah, I would, yeah, I would tell on them because stealing is not the right thing to do, and blah blah this and that, and I don't condone stealing. I mean, if you steal, you're a lie, and this and that, and yeah, and they're like, okay, okay, okay. What if it's your best friend? Would you do that too? Like, oh yeah, I don't give a fuck. And that's what they kind of did too. Like, right here with this administration, here that's happening right now, with the ICE thing. They are actually paying out here in DC, where they got all the agents and stuff. He's giving $500 away if you tell on, a criminal or something like that, trying to get criminals off the street. And I think everything that they're doing out in DC is kind of like a test for, the other places and stuff. And yeah, so you tell, you get $500, all that type of stuff. Just the government. You think they really care? Do you really think they care about crime and all that stuff? They fight for gun rights. I think Florida got you can be 18, you don't need a license, open carry, shoot. No, like it's just a whole bunch of stuff. So, um, you know, what do they really care at the end of the day about crime when they feed into it too a little bit and create it? Let's move on to the next question. The difference between stupidity and genius is the genius has its limitations. That was from Einstein. All right, one more. Epidemic of obedience. Okay, so we're gonna start with that. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool to read some of the comments and stuff. I may start doing that. But good information, good information. And I'm gonna close it out with this. I just want you to see this. When we talk about being able to think for yourself, being different, and all that type of stuff. And sometimes, I'm not saying you gotta be so different that you never can fit in. Some stuff just makes sense and you go with the crowd or you go with what you know. Because when it don't make any sense to you, But sometimes things that you think make sense, they don't make sense. Like start peeling back the layers because you have been conditioned and we have been conditioned. You know, it starts from day one. And I just want to show you how real this is when we got our official up here. You know, he signed, I really think he signed um, an executive about wokeness, but he hate woke. And I'm like, you know, what kind of president wouldn't want to encourage people to be woke, to be a thinker and stuff? And it just proves what all of the stuff that I'm showing you all on these videos is just proof and evidence that they don't want you to be thinkers. And we're going to just see a really short clip of DJT 47 speaking on wokeness, and he doesn't appreciate it. And he's just speaking on a lot of things. So let's just take a look at this one in particular. So let me get it. And like I said, I just put it in. I'm going to see which one is the right one to play, and we're looking at it together. I haven't pre-put this video or picked it out. We're gonna have to do it together. So let's see what it's about. Yeah, you see me. Woke no longer. Let's do this one. Our country will not be woke no longer. I'm gonna do that one. That's got let's do this one. See what he's talking about.
If you want to build an app and have no idea how to code or where to start, check out Base 44.
And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good. And I've stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And likewise, I renamed for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal.
Did you guys hear?
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies.
All right. So anyway, that's that. I wanted y'all to hear that. We will be woke no longer. That's what he said. No longer after all of that. We don't need you thinking, right? We don't need you thinking. You don't need to be out here even working just because of the color of your skin and all this and that. But you got your people sitting there clapping, thinking it's all good, and they said white people lost their jobs too. So I mean, I just don't get this whole thing. We get ready to go into something else, but this is still conformity to me. And people like um, clapping, like this is so great, this is so great, this is so great. I just believe in the human race and what is right and stuff. And stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. When we were slaves, you could not read, write, and all that type of stuff, and you got in trouble for that because they needed you to stay ignorant. And in school, you don't learn much. You have to still teach your kids too. Your kids are gonna come out here and graduate school, and they're not gonna know anything. And then they turn 18, and they really want you to just toss them out in the world and say, "Hey, you're a grown person now," so that they can have that will with your children. But to me, it even started before, especially for a black young man, and for black young women, and for browns. It starts at birth, honestly. I think it starts at birth where you get mistreated. There was a lady in the hospital right here in Virginia. She was beating up black babies and doing stuff to black newborn babies that was just born. And she ain't even in jail. She's not even in jail. She just lost her job from that hospital. But I guarantee you she got a job somewhere else. So anyway, we're gonna close out with that message. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I hope you're having a great Friday, and I hope you have a great weekend. And keep your head up, and keep your mind open, keep your eyes open, and always try to look beyond the surface. And I know that's easier said than done, but they want to keep us so discombobulated that we can't even think right. We don't know. We can't, know if we're coming or going. They're here to let us know. Oh, you're coming, you're going. They're here to control us. So let's do our best, people, to take control of ourselves. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard. And maybe, like, oh, it's not that hard, but it's hard for some folks. And look, I'm here to help the best that I can. So anyway, like I said, hit that like button before we go. Hit share. Please share all this good information. And we got more to come. Okay? Stay woke and look out for stupid people. Okay? All right, and I'm gonna close it out with my song once again to make it happy.
I can see things looking wild and looking tired and looking for me. Oh, right. Hey, but I said it ain't gonna happen.
This way. This way.
All right, all right. That's all, folks. That's all, folks. Bye.